Good morning, all. Sorry for being a few minutes behind. Senate Education Committee, June 5th, 2025. We will start with a roll call.
Senator Henry. Here. Senator Corrado is present. Senator McKnight. Here. Senator Turner is present. Senator Gopal.
Here. Thank you. And let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I believe a large majority of you are here for S796, requiring parents or guardians to annually notify school districts in writing of the intention of homeschool child, requires school district to compile and post on district website a number of school children. The sponsor, Senator McKnight, is here, and she is asked to hold the bill so she can meet with stakeholders to discuss further. So if you are here to testify, if you are here, all right. If you are here to testify on that bill, we will not be taking testimony on that. If you wish to testify on the bill, then we will vote on it. So I'm assuming you don't want to testify. So I will give folks a minute unless you want to hear about some of the other things we're doing, you're welcome to stay. But if anyone would like to leave, please take the next minute to go ahead and do that. If anybody would like to leave, since we're not hearing testimony or voting on that bill, you're welcome to now. Otherwise, we're going to start on other bills. It's held. The bill is being held. Senator McKnight is a sponsor. She'd like to talk to stakeholders further about the bill. Okay? First bill on the agenda, S341, Senator Digan's bill.
Senate Bill number 341 requires Commissioner of Education to recommend dates for spring break in school districts. There are committee amendments in your packet that clarify the effective date of the bill.
If you'd like to leave, please leave. We're not hearing the homeschooling bill. We have Tara McKeon opposed. Tara, would you like to come testify on S341? Is there a Tara McKeon who wants to testify on S341? Okay, requires Commissioner of Education to recommend dates for spring break in school districts. Thanks. Is my mic not working? There's just too many people. Hi, Senator.
Oh, is it red? Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
So this is on Senate Bill 341.
Yes, requires Commissioner of Education to recommend dates for spring break in school districts.
Okay, so this is just something that I had a question. Why would we give the Commissioner of Education the authority to decide for the entire state when schools take spring break? What problem are we attempting to solve? Just like various states are different, so are the counties. For example, some counties have a high population of Jewish community and may want to take spring break around Passover.
This bill is optional for the district.
I'm sorry?
It's optional for the district.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Any other testimony on that? Any comments or questions on that bill? If not, a motion?
Motion.
By Senator McKnight, second from Senator Turner.
This is a vote on Senate Bill number 341 with committee amendments. Senator Henry? No. Senator Corrado? No. Senator McKnight?
Yes.
Is a yes. Senator Turner? Yes. Is a yes. Senator Gopal?
Yes, bill is released. Next is S2167.
Senate Bill number 2167 requires public schools to comply with lunch and breakfast nutrition standards adopted by USDA. There are committee amendments in your packet that provide that a non-public school participating in the National School Lunch Program and the Federal School Breakfast Program is to comply with the provisions of the bill. Specifies that the provisions of the bill also apply to competitive foods sold in schools, clarify that schools are to comply with any more stringent federal nutrition standards adopted in the future, and update the effective date.
We have Libby Vincent, New Jersey YMCA State Alliance in favor, no need to testify. Jenny Lamont, New Jersey Principals and Supervisors in favor, no need to testify. Monica from the American Diabetes Association in favor, no need to testify. Dr. Catherine Klauser, President of the American Academy of Pediatrics in favor, no need to testify. Trevor with the American Heart Association in favor. Trevor, were you looking to testify? Come on up.
All right. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Chairman Gopal and Vice Chair Turner, and honorable members of the Senate Education Committee for the opportunity to provide testimony regarding Bill S2167. Additionally, thank you to Senate Majority Leader Ruiz for her leadership, and of course, Senator Turner for your co-sponsorship of this bill. My name is Trevor Martindale, and I serve as the State Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association. As the nation's oldest and largest voluntary organization dedicated to fighting heart disease, the American Heart Association remains steadfast in supporting legislation that provides New Jerseyans the opportunity to live their healthiest lives. This effort begins with our children, ensuring they grow and learn in healthy environments, particularly healthy food environments. New Jersey has taken some significant steps to make school meals accessible, and we must take equal steps to preserve their healthy composition. The American Heart Association is pleased to support this legislation with the proposed amendments. These proposed amendments will strengthen the bill and fully protect our students. In codifying the nutrition standards adopted by the USDA in 2012 and the most recent standards of 2024, students will participate in a school meal program that includes more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, while limiting the number of calories, saturated fats, sodium, and added sugars. This legislation, with the proposed amendments, takes an extra and necessary step to ensure the healthiest school food environment possible by addressing competitive foods. These are items that are sold via vending machines, snack bars, school stores, or fundraisers during school hours in a cafeteria a la carte lines. These items, without following the most stringent guidelines, can pose a serious threat to the overall health of school-aged New Jerseyans. Stringent nutrition standards establish a foundation that promotes a lifetime of healthy behaviors. There's strong evidence to support that eating patterns lower in added sugars intake are associated with reduced risk of cardiovascular disease, and there's moderate evidence indicates that those eating patterns are associated with reduced risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and some types of cancer. We must be intentional in protecting the health of our state, and particularly the health of all young New Jerseyans from the onset of chronic disease. By passing and enacting this legislation, we protect our children from harmful potential rollbacks in school meal nutrition standards that would be disastrous. Any weakening of nutrition standards would be counter to public health and endanger children across the state. The reference standards address the most critical components of the school food environment and ensures it remains the healthiest option. I hope and look forward to continuing our work together in the coming weeks to maintain the healthiest school meals possible and continue to make New Jersey a healthier state for all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions or comments from the committee? Okay. Elizabeth Ginsburg, Garden State Coalition of Schools in favor. No need to testify. Any questions or comments on this bill from the committee? If not, a motion from Senator McKnight, second from Senator Turner.
This is a vote on Senate Bill number 2167 with committee amendments. Senator Henry? Yes. It's a yes. Senator Corrado? It's a yes. Senator McKnight? Yes. It's a yes. Senator Turner? Yes. It's a yes. Senator Gopal?
Yes. Bill is released. Thank you. Next will be S2867.
Senate Bill number 2867 and its identical Assembly counterpart, Assembly Bill number 1997, requires DOE to establish central registry of individuals and organizations interested in providing supplemental tutoring support to students. There are committee amendments in your packet that require the DOE to partner with a nonprofit organization to establish and oversee the registry required by the bill. The amendments also remove the requirement in the bill that an organization willfully providing false information is not to be fined more than $500.
Isaiah Fudge, Advocates for Children in New Jersey, in favor, no need to testify. Chris Nelson, New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association, in favor, no need to testify. Tara McKean, opposed, no need to testify. Colleen Eskow, New Jersey Children's Foundation, in favor, no need to testify. Melanie Schultz, NJASA, in favor, no need to testify. Fran with the NJEA, in favor, no need to testify. Elizabeth Ginsburg, Garden State Coalition of Schools, in favor, no need to testify. Harry Lee, New Jersey Public Charter Schools Association, in favor, no need to testify. Harrison Silver, New Jersey School Boards, in favor, no need to testify. Any questions or comments on this bill? If not, a motion, please. Motion by Senator Turner, second by Senator McKnight.
This is a vote on Senate Bill number 2867 and its identical Assembly counterpart, Assembly Bill number 1997, with committee amendments. Senator Henry? Yes. It's a yes. Senator Corrado? Yes. It's a yes. Senator McKnight? Yes. Senator Turner? Yes. It's a yes. Senator Gopal?
Yes. Bill is released. Thank you. Next, we're going to S4312.
Senate Bill number 4312 and its identical Assembly counterpart, Assembly Bill number 4854, modifies method of allocating state aid for providing auxiliary and remedial services to non-public school students. There are amendments in your packet that remove provisions of the bill requiring the maximum per service aid amounts for auxiliary and remedial services to be established based on various costs and service trends, require the maximum service amount aids to be calculated by dividing the amount annually appropriated to provide services by the average number of documented services delivered in the prior 3 school years, require the Commissioner to conduct a survey and report the findings to the Governor and the Legislature, and update the effective date.
Thank you. I have Kevin Geary, Full Bloom, in favor, no need to testify. Teach New Jersey, in favor, no need to testify. Dr. George Corwell, New Jersey Catholic Conference, in favor, no need to testify. We have 4 individuals requesting to testify. I will first bring up Assemblyman Avi Schnall and Shlomo Shore.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the committee. Just want to say a couple of words about this bill because it may seem a little bit confusing for some. It is not a typical piece of legislation. It is a great piece of legislation, but it's not typical. There is a line item in the budget that specifically allocates funds for a non-public school service. It is not tied to the public school funding in any which way. It doesn't affect public school funding. There are, in fact, about 7 line items in the state budget that allocates different funds to non-public schools. Nursing, security, textbooks. This bill that we're referring to, which is compensatory education, known as Chapter 192.
Don't forget transportation.
I'm about to get to that one. Auxiliary services, security services, and transportation. Now, none of those funds affect public school funding. So I just want to make sure that is very clear from the get-go. Each year, 192, because of how the state calculates the funds, and there's a few people here that are going to testify in greater detail, if need be, and the importance of this. But each year, based on the current way how the state calculates the funds, each year, non-public schools, districts, send back to the state almost 10% of funds unused. That money does not go now to other public schools. It's unused. It goes into the abyss, so to speak, of not knowing where any unused funds go, and it doesn't go to the children that need to get services. Over the years, the 192 fund, which was originally established in the 1970s. So we're talking about a program that is over 50 years old. We've never looked back and said, how is this program actually working? Are we really servicing the children that need it the most? Well, now, 50 some odd years later, we're actually looking at this program, and we're seeing why is it that we give back so much funding every year of unused funds, which means that when the program was originally initiated, the recommendation from the department was that each child that is eligible for services should receive at a minimum 45-minute sessions twice a week. Today, as we'll hear from some providers, we're lucky if we get once a week a half an hour. The reason being is because the way how the mechanism was structured 50 years ago doesn't work with how things work today, and therefore a lot of those funds are unused. What this bill does is it restructures the funding. It does not change the allocation. It doesn't ask for more money in the budget. It does not affect any other budget or funding streams that go to any funding source throughout the entire budget. What it does is it allows the children that were allocated funding for critical services to be able to tap in to that full amount of money, and we should stop giving back unused funds and rather use the funds for what it was meant for and what it was dedicated for, and that is services to children that are struggling to keep up in school. So that's in a little bit of a broad explanation of what the bill is. I'm happy to answer any particular or specific questions, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Assemblyman, what's the total cost right now in the budget, do you know, for this item?
The total cost of this budget, as has been the last, I believe, several years, was in the $50 million range. And again, this bill doesn't touch that budget allocation amount.
So that dollar amount, this bill is just, if anything is unused, and that amount, which has been existent, you're just asking for it back. It does not increase the total state budget, does not affect not affect the school funding formula in any way, correct?
Correct. It doesn't touch the school funding formula in any way, shape, or form.
Thank you. Any questions for the Assemblyman? Senator Turner?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. What is the definition of remedial work?
I'm sorry?
This money is supposed to be reimbursed because you're using it for remedial work for the students?
Correct.
What kind of remedial?
So this goes for English and math, I believe, and we have some providers that are going to testify today to get more into details of the exact types of services that it's used for, but the children that are eligible are all based on test scores and other methods and how the teachers in the schools with state guidance determine who's eligible for those remedial services.
And about how many students would that be? If you have enough students, then why would only 10% be used?
Now, 10% was returned to the state of unused funds.
90% is used.
90% is used, 10% is unused, which is about $5 million a year of unused money that for a non-public school, for non-public schools, is a very significant amount for us. And this is statewide.
If you use 100%, then you would be back asking for more?
That's not what this bill is. That's not what this legislation is asking for. I'm not asking for more money. I'm asking to let us use.
I'm just asking you a hypothetical.
I can't answer what's going to be in the future in the next 10, 15 years. I'm looking at the right now. Right now, this bill is not asking for more money. This bill is asking the money that was allocated, let the schools use, let the children receive the services that they're supposed to be getting. And that was with funds that the legislature voted and supported that should go to them. And we're just asking, or this bill is asking, that the children should receive what our intention was. When we voted on a budget and we vote to allocate $10 million, for example, for security funding for public schools, and I were to find out that 10% of those funds are not used and are being returned to the state, I'd be upset because we didn't allocate the money to come back to us. I allocate the money to be used. And now we're not using that money. So the reason why we're not using the money is because of archaic and old methods that are 50 years old. And we're trying to change those mechanisms and how the money is distributed to districts to ensure that it actually goes to the students that need it and that can use it.
Well, what is that archaic method that's being used?
Very simple. Right now, the way how we fund the program is based off of a proration from 2 years ago's amounts of eligible students. So, for example, let's say this current budget. The governor proposed the budget in February. The numbers he has are not from the year 20, are from this past year he uses for next year's budget. So we're always 2 years behind in the accurate data. That's one issue with it. Another issue is the way how the funding is given is in a pay-down method, which means that I go to a school district, that school district has, for argument's sake, 10 eligible students. And every one of those students is entitled, based on the proration, to $1,000 a year, just for argument's sake. So I know that that district now has an allocation of $10,000. I give that district at the beginning of the month, each month, $1,000. Now what happens is, throughout the month, not all of those funds are used. Why? A teacher could be absent, a child could be absent, there could be a school trip that day, many reasons why that service wasn't provided. So what happens? We have $1,000 given to a district, and only $700 was actually used. So now we have $300 sitting there doing absolutely nothing. That's one example of why the funding is not used. Another reason why the funding is not used is, as the years have gone on, the amount that we allocate per pupil is minimal. It's about $1,100 a child. About a year and a half ago, the Department of Education did a survey, not myself, not independent, the department itself did a survey, asking all providers throughout the state how much would be necessary to really provide a full program, 45 minutes twice a week, as was the intention. The lowest amount that was given by any provider in the state was about $1,350. So we're not getting enough money to provide services. So what's happening now is you have some districts that only have 20, 30, 40 students attending a private school. There's not enough funds in that school that they can actually hire a teacher to come and teach them and provide the services. But what happens? The money was already given to the district. It sits there. Services are not being provided, and it's not being used. This method makes it based on a reimbursement. That we're not going to give districts at the beginning of the month the full amount of money and say, here's the $1,000, you could use it, and if you don't use it, it will just sit there and we'll take it back at the end of the year. Rather, it's a reimbursement model. Every quarter, and we purposely made this once every quarter to give districts enough time to gather all their paperwork so it doesn't create any burden for any districts. Once a quarter, a district will submit to the state how many services were actually provided. Then the state will reimburse based on the actual amount that was actually given. Now, because we're doing a reimbursement based on services, what we're also changing, the third thing that's being changed is that when the commissioner allocates the funds, instead of allocating the funds based on eligible students, eligible services, I should say, which we all know based on years of trends, that the amount of eligible services are never fully provided. Rather, let's look at how many services were actually provided in previous years and base that allocation off of a real number of services provided in the previous school year, not 2 years ago. So we're changing it to a reimbursement, we're changing it to a most recent allocation, not 2 years prior, and we're changing it to services, not eligible students. That will give us a more accurate amount of funds to be allocated per student, which will increase the amount of funding, not increase the allocation, but will ensure that the full amount goes to the students. When more money is there for the students, we now have a higher per pupil amount. Many of those schools that previously could not afford to hire teachers can now hire teachers. What we're basically doing is we're able to generate approximately $5 to $6 million without taking a dollar from the budget, without increasing the allocation in the budget by a nickel. I hope that was somewhat clear.
Thank you very much. It wasn't clear, but thank you anyway.
Like I said at the beginning, it's a complicated piece of legislation.
I think hopefully the folks testifying after you can go into what remedial means and,
Sure.
and maybe some specifics on the impact. Any other questions for Assemblyman Schnall? Thank you, Assemblyman. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and the members of the committee. My name is Shlomo Shor. I'm the Legislative Director for Agudath Israel of America's New Jersey office. Agudath Israel of America is a 100-year-old national advocacy organization dedicated to representing the interests of Orthodox Jewry in America, and we have the privilege of representing Orthodox Jewish families across the state, including tens of thousands of students in non-public schools. This legislation that the Assemblyman just explained represents a long overdue technical fix to the way non-public school students in New Jersey receive these auxiliary services, including their remedial education, which we'll hear from the providers. Crucially, this bill does not cost the state any additional funds, nor does it alter existing policy, regulation, or service eligibility. It simply ensures that the funds that the legislature already appropriates for these services are used more efficiently and effectively. For nearly 15 years, non-public schools have faced this chronic issue. Significant portions, often 10 to 20% statewide, of the allocated funds are left unused and returned to the state, not because they're unnecessary, but because of these outdated and inefficient funding mechanics. These include the use of years-old data and an inability for the Department of Education to reallocate or adjust funds within the fiscal year. This bill would change that by, one, funding based on actual service rendered, allowing districts to be funded, like you heard, for the actual services provided and not through the pay-down system, requiring the Department of Education to use current enrollment numbers, ensuring accuracy and not years-old numbers, and three, empowering the Commissioner of Education to use the full amount of budgeted funds, ensuring all appropriated dollars will benefit the students. This legislation will allow New Jersey non-public school students, many who have come from underserved backgrounds, to receive the full benefit of the auxiliary services the state already intends to provide. It will reduce waste, improve outcomes, and support educational equity. We urge you to vote yes on this bill and to move this smart, fiscally responsible, educational, impactful bill forward. I would also like to address Senator Turner, your question regarding whether we will ask for additional funds in the future. Obviously, we don't know what will happen in the future, but I would also argue that perhaps by ensuring the effective allocation of funds and ensuring that students actually receive services they need, we can ultimately lead to students leaving the program, and receiving the help they need will perhaps bring the numbers down. Now, with students not getting the needs that the full services that they're entitled to, ensures that they will not receive the full help and stay on the program throughout their school years. If we can get them the full service, perhaps they can leave the program early, as these remedial programs are intended.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee?
Just a comment.
Senator Henry.
I want to thank you for your efforts, Assemblywoman. We all realize how important these remedial services are to our children, whether in public school, non-public school. And as you said, I think earlier in the grades, at the earlier grades, they can get themselves out of the program if they get the help they need, these basic remedial services. So it's very important, and I commend you for your efforts in getting the money that we've allocated, get it where it belongs to be. So thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Any questions? Senator Turner?
Yes, I agree with you. It's better to get to these students earlier because a stitch in time saves 9. So it's better to put the money on the front end than spend more money on the back end. About how many students would this affect?
So we have a provider, we'll be able to give us a more accurate number, but my understanding is it's about 30,000 students statewide. That's my understanding. I could be off, but I believe it's between 30, maybe 40, which I know is quite a number, but it's not, it's about 30 to 40,000 students statewide, yes.
We're talking about also Catholic schools and other...
All denominations, yes. Every kind of non-public school taps into this service.
Got it.
Do we know how many non-public schools we have in New Jersey?
There's, based on the DOE's numbers, there's about 160,000 children in non-public schools in New Jersey in the current year.
That is religious-based, or are you talking about private schools?
Any
also?
non-public school. All non-public schools. We don't differentiate. So all non-public schools,
Got it.
about 160,000.
Thank you. Other questions? Thank you both. Just a reminder, because we've had a couple of folks come in the last half hour putting slips in. We are not hearing the homeschool bill. It is being held at the request of the sponsor. Last two people to testify on this bill, Dr. Rula Burton, I'm sorry if I'm not reading this right, Tender Taven Educational Services in favor, would like to testify, and John Josh, yes, writes like a doctor. Come on up. In favor, both would like to testify.
Okay. Hi, my name is Dr. Burton, and I'm representing Tender Touch. We're a service provider providing these services that we're describing. I'm also a parent in the non-public school whose children have benefited from the services that are provided. I first want to thank the Chairman Gopal, for hearing this bill, and for the sponsor of the bill, Senator Deignan, for putting this bill forward. Tender Touch is a service provider that currently is providing services in 55 schools, servicing a student population of close to 13,000. All those students do not receive remedial services. That's the total student population. We're generally looking at the bottom 30% of the class. As discussed earlier, we're providing services. There's a larger focus in the younger grades, and then as the students get older, the numbers do get smaller of the students that we provide. Our goal has always been to provide high-quality instruction to every student that is enrolled in the program. One of the challenges that we continue to face is that the per-pupil amount that trickles down from the state to the district to the provider has been shrinking year by year. So although at the state level, what you're seeing in front of you in the budget is we're giving that same per-pupil amount. Each year, the state chooses to hold a larger percentage at the state level and then the local level. So the dollar amount that's actually coming to our students is getting less and less. And as we know, the cost of providing services continues to go up. In order to retain high-quality teachers, we have to be able to invest in the teachers. Every teacher needs to get a raise every year, and we have to invest in supplies and materials. And with the shrinking dollar amounts, it's becoming increasingly challenging to keep up that high level of service. So this bill would be an excellent asset and a great way to help us provide high-quality services simply by ensuring that the dollars are received by their intended recipient. When the dollars were allocated, the goal of the legislature was to make sure that it's getting to the children. But if the state keeps a larger portion each year, then the district keeps a portion, and then there are unused funds that we can't tap into that never come back as carryover, those dollars never reach the children that they're supposed to reach. So on behalf of Tender Touch, the 13,000 students in our schools, and as a parent in the community, I urge you to push this bill forward. I would address the question on remedial services, if that's okay, because I am an educator. I do have a doctorate, so I'd be happy to address remedial services. A simple way for us to look at remedial services is looking at smaller groups, specialized instruction, and a specialized method of delivery. So when you have a student in a regular ed classroom that's being taught literacy and is one of between 30 and 35, you have students who simply by being one of 35 have a hard time learning. So the first step in remedial would say, let's pull you to a group where you're going to be one of 3 or 4. That already gives the child a better chance at learning. So that would be remedial in terms of just the size, the instruction, the pull out in that type of way. We'd look at a specialized delivery method. So you'd look at giving a child Wilson, Orton Gillingham, the Linda Mood LIPS program, multisensory instruction. So it's not the method of instruction that the teacher is using to teach those skills is different. And then a third piece that we also look at is the delivery model itself. You have students who have a hard time focusing, who have a hard time sitting, who have a hard time, need frequent breaks. So within the larger classroom, as one of the larger group, the classroom teacher is not always able to differentiate. But in a small group, so if you have a group of 4, it's very easy to have you sit that way, you up, you down, you take a break, you talk. Let's make it more interactive. So in the remedial, we're looking at smaller groups, specialized instruction in terms of the methods that we know, like the Orton, like the Wilson, and giving the children the instruction in the way that they're able to learn in a much more individualized way. So reading is one. There's also math, but reading usually is uses primarily most of you'll see usually larger numbers in the younger grades for the reading. So that gives these children the services that they need, and then, yes, you do this in the younger grade, then they graduate out. Because if they're taught to read at the younger grades in the way that they need it, they move out. Definitely with the supplemental speech program, a child has an articulation issue. I had one of my children got speech, and she performed in her high school play. So it doesn't take so long. We get them when they're young, they work on it, and they move out of the program. So what we're asking for as a representative of the schools that we service and as a parent is that the dollars simply get from the state to the children and don't get lost someplace along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator McKnight.
In reference to auxiliary and remedial services, do the kids get both, or they could get either or? Because you're saying remedial services, but then also it's providing the supplementary services.
So each service stands on its own. You have some children who have multiple needs. So you'll have a student who needs help in reading, who needs help in math, and also has a service plan and is classified as a child with special education services, and then they get 3 services. But one is not a guarantee of the other. You could have a student who just simply is not keeping up in reading and is eligible for reading help. That child is not a child that's classified, not a child with special needs. It's simply a child who's lagging and is performing in the bottom 35th percent of the class in just reading and is strong in math. So then the child only participates in the reading. Or you could have a child who's struggling just in math, not in reading, some both. And then the supplemental instruction for a student with special needs, that's its own service and classification, and it doesn't always, overlap.
Gotcha. So when you apply for reimbursement, you're applying per pupil or per service?
Per child, per service, per month. Okay. So these are the number of children that actually participated and received ELA services. These are the children that received math services. These are the children that receive supplemental instruction based on a service plan because they're children who have special needs. These are the children who receive ESL. These are the children who receive speech.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Sure.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Senator Gopal. It's a pleasure to see you after all these years. For those who might remember who I am, I'm Josh Przansky. I represented the Agudath Israel of New Jersey back in the 2008, 9, 10 years, and then after that with the Orthodox Union Advocacy Center as a New Jersey representative. So I've been in front of these committees many times before, and I was in mothballs, and then Councilman Schnall pulled me out, and he says, come and testify about something that meant a lot to you back when you were doing this for us. And that was the fact that money and funds were not 100% expended. This is a conversation I had back in 2013 with the DOE and the non-public representatives, asking why these monies aren't being spent. Nobody had an answer, of course. I went then to the governor's office, to the budget people, asked how come 100% of the funds aren't being used. Again, nobody had any answer. In those days, it was 20% that wasn't being used, which is a huge chunk. The service providers in Lakewood and other communities reached out to me and said we need more money in order to provide the services that are necessary for the students. And after all these conversations, just nothing happened. And then I was glad to get a call from from Assemblyman Schnall and Shlomo Shore. They're my successors at the Agudath Israel. 2 people I get a lot of nachas from. For those who don't know what nachas means, that's the Hebrew word for joy. Seeing that they took this bill, they took this idea, and they ran with it. And hopefully today it will become law in the state of New Jersey to use 100% of the funds. And I think what people need to understand when it comes to non-public school students, when it comes to children in the state of New Jersey, all children are equal regardless of which school they go to, whether it's public school, independent school, non-public schools, parochial schools. It doesn't make a difference. Jewish, Catholic, Muslim, it doesn't make a difference. Every kid deserves the right to succeed through their education here in the state of New Jersey. And if they can't succeed because funds that are specifically set aside for their use are not being used, and they're going back into the budget, like Assemblyman Schnall said before, to cover the overspending in some other budget lines, that is, or alluded to, I should say, that is something that needs to be rectified. And I appreciate the fact that you're listening to this, and hopefully give these children and these schools and these providers the 100% of the funding that they need in order to provide the services. I know, thank God, I have 10 grandchildren now that live here in the state of New Jersey. I'm proud of each and every one of them. Half of them are in school. Some need services. One might even need speech therapy, which I believe is one of the services covered under 192. And so, it's important to me as a grandparent, as a parent, as a resident of the state for many, many years, that these services be provided. So again, I don't know if there's anything else I can add to what was said before. They basically, all three people who testified before me gave a very in-depth definition and explanation of what the funds are for. But I just want to say I'm happy that this is finally being heard. I'm happy that it's finally moving forward. And I will be very happy if this committee will vote to send it to the governor's desk for signature. So thank you very much.
Won't go that quick, but thank you for your testimony. Questions or comments from the committee? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments on this bill? Motion from Senator Henry and a second from Senator McKnight. Don't always hear that roundup.
This is a vote on Senate Bill number 4312 and its identical Assembly counterpart, Assembly Bill number 4854 with committee amendments. Senator Henry? Yes. Is a yes. Senator Corrado? Yes. Is a yes. Senator McKnight? Is a yes. Senator Turner? Yes. Is a yes. Senator Gopal?
Yes, bill is released. Thank you. Next we have S4440.
Senate Bill number 4440 requires key boxes at public school buildings, appropriates $2.5 million.
Melanie Schultz, NJASA. Thank you for the amendments. No need to testify. Tara McKean, opposed. No need to testify. Elizabeth Ginsburg, Garden State Coalition of Schools, in favor. No need to testify. We have 3 individuals all in favor, some seeking amendments. We'll bring them all up together. Neil Zipser, the Knox Company, Deborah Bradley, New Jersey Principals, and Jonathan Pushman, New Jersey School Boards.
Yeah, that's good.
Good morning. Thank you for your time today. My name is Neil Zipser. I'm the Industry Affairs Manager for the Knox Company. We're a woman-owned small business out of Phoenix, Arizona, and since 1975, we've worked with approximately 16,000 first responder agencies, including many agencies here in New Jersey. As one of the companies offering the type of boxes required under Senate Bill 4440, we're testifying in support of this bill. Many schools in New Jersey already use Knox boxes for fire safety purposes in conjunction with their local fire departments. The fire departments use the box to gain entry into the building, typically in the middle of the night when an alarm goes off and no one's there to let them in. The fire departments and schools have partnered to place them at the box at the front door, which is very convenient in case of emergency. They use a jurisdiction's unique key to gain access and open the box, and then inside the box is a master key to get into the building. This predictable and trustworthy method of entry speeds up response time and reduces property loss. Based on the success of this model, law enforcement has begun using their own boxes or other lock boxes for access to locked school buildings during critical moments. The U.S. Department of Justice, in their report following the Uvalde, Texas shooting, also recommended that key boxes should be on schools for law enforcement needs. In states where these boxes are already required for schools, law enforcement collaborates with the school district to install the box in a strategic location, allowing for best tactical response. For example, public schools in Nashville, Tennessee, put these boxes next to the gym entrance, which is typically at the back of the school or side of the school. That way they're not in the line of sight of the shooter as they approach the school. And if a law enforcement official has never done a drill, a safety drill at that school, they know to go to the gym entrance. So that's an example. That's a much better strategy than running up to the school with your long gun, your mask, and all that adrenaline going and messing with the box next to the front door. Law enforcement specific boxes also accommodate the varying needs for what's inside the box. Fire departments only need that external key to get in. What law enforcement needs is the master external keys, internal keys for the classroom, access cards if there are any, mapping yes or no, that's of course up to the school. In Georgia, they put Narcan and tourniquets in there as well. So it's a slightly bigger box that law enforcement needs than fire. For those districts that believe they already have a system in place, the lockbox concept can be used as an extra layer of security, something law enforcement always desires. Additionally, the boxes do not require batteries, power, wiring, or maintenance. So once it's up, it's handled. This ensures the box will still operate also if the shooter happens to turn off the power to the school. Access is a critical shortcoming in school safety. It basically completes the response ecosystem of notification and mapping. The bill is intended to provide a solution to this emerging threat that is easy and quick to implement and not nearly as costly as many other safety devices. All the cameras, AI software, panic alarms are useless if the good guys can't quickly gain access and mitigate the incidents. Please note that Knoxbox is not the only company offering these type of lock boxes. There's about 5 others nationally that I know of. Other companies like ours offer boxes that meet the UL or Underwrite Laboratories 1037 standard, which gives school leaders peace of mind that the boxes will not be vandalized or compromised. I did bring a sample of the box. It's 25 pounds. If you want me to get it, I'll show it to you, but you'll see that it's not your typical box that you're going to buy on Amazon. Thank you again for your time and work in keeping schools and the students of New Jersey safe, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Let's do everyone and then do questions. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the Senate Education Committee. I'm Debbie Bradley, Director of Government Relations at the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association. Our members who are directly responsible for school safety wish to thank Senator McKnight for providing districts with a fully funded tool that they can utilize in their school security and emergency response efforts. A key box is one effective tool that can facilitate emergency access and coordination between schools and police and fire personnel. As already stated to you, many school districts in the state have chosen to utilize key boxes. So we support the goals of this legislation, and we appreciate the much-needed appropriation within the bill to make the installation of exterior key boxes a reality for schools with struggling budgets. We have proposed several amendments to Senator McKnight. I'd like to highlight just a few of them. What we're trying to do is incorporate and respect current security practices and existing collaborative approaches between schools and emergency responders. A key change that we're seeking is the ability for districts who have proactively addressed emergency access issues to give them the ability to seek an amendment, an exemption from the Commissioner of Education if they have an effective and equivalent plan already in place. We have done this in the past. This legislature, when they passed Alyssa's law, which required panic buttons in every school, also set forth language that allowed schools who had already acted appropriately and met the standards of the legislation, it gave them the ability to seek an exemption, and we're looking for that as well today. We've also proposed language to minimize the potential number of key boxes a school will need. As was just stated to you, currently there's a diverse range of practices among schools between how these key boxes are utilized. In some cases, fire departments have installed the boxes and they are not willing to share access with local law enforcement. In other cases, they have worked together and come up with a shared use of a single box. We believe that this legislation provides an opportunity to encourage this collaborative approach so that we can minimize costs and work with a single box if that's possible. There is the issue that was just mentioned in terms of the location of the box, where police and fire may have put it at the front of a building and the local school district and local law enforcement may think there's a more secure and better location for the box. So that's something we think should be determined locally. Another issue for us is the bill's requirement to include a paper copy of the school's critical incident mapping data in the box. We believe that requirement is unsafe and impractical, and we ask that it be removed from the bill. The passage of the law concerning critical incident mapping that was done a few years ago specifically advanced school emergency response practices by moving away from paper copies of maps that detailed key locations in a building and instead providing this information to law enforcement digitally. Both our members and law enforcement who work with them, they have shared with us that digital access to this important information is more effective and accessible to them. And on a practical note, our members also report that the data will not fit in some of the key boxes, especially those they may have already purchased. So we ask that issue be considered as well. The bill also talks about emergency medical services providers having access to the box. We have some concerns with that as well, and we think that should be a local decision. EMTs and other emergency services personnel are often volunteers. They do not have to undergo a criminal background check in our state, so it's something that we believe that the fewer people who have access to this key information, the better. And in closing, we support this legislation. We hope we can strengthen it with amendments moving forward, and we thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan Pushman, New Jersey School Boards Association. I do want to associate myself with my friend from PSA who described the strengths of this bill as well as areas of improvement far more eloquently than I ever could. But the School Boards Association certainly supports the goals and intent of this legislation as well. Anything that we can do to make responses to school emergencies and fires more robust and effective should be explored, and we think this bill is a vehicle that has really very real potential to do just that. So thank you, Senator McKnight, for spotlighting this issue. We also greatly appreciate it that it does come with an appropriation, not super expensive, and should have long-term benefits. But as we come up here a lot, we say it's a death by 1,000 cuts as we require more things on school districts. We feel that any mandate should come with adequate resources, and the sponsor clearly recognizes that. So in terms of some of the improvements that we think could be made to the bill, many of them align with my partner here from the Principals and Supervisors Association. We've been working with the sponsor, our colleagues, as well as the advocates for this legislation. We do think it needs some enhanced flexibility, whereas if districts do have alternative approaches or systems in place, they should be able to keep those in place and not necessarily have to put something else as part of their process. Also, technology evolves, and so may not be appropriate to have a strict standard set in statute, so we would want to kind of allow this to evolve over time, so maybe loosening up the language in terms of the standard it should comply with, or maybe setting a minimum so that it can go, we can adjust as technology evolves. That's more of an administrative and regulatory issue that maybe doesn't need to get that level of minutia in statute. And then finally, we'd like to make the funding and reimbursement stream permanent. It's really great that it has a one-time appropriation in the bill, but we've also seen in other pieces of legislation, Deb described Alyssa's law. Most recently, we had the bill that required all schools to be supplied with menstrual hygiene products, and that really just said any costs associated with that should be borne by the state. So if this is something that's going to continue moving forward, we want to make sure that it's not just a one-time reimbursement for the districts as they deploy these mechanisms. So really our goal moving forward is to work with the sponsor and make a strong bill even stronger. So thank you, Senator, and thank you, Chairman.
Senator McKnight.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you so much for coming up here, and I did receive all of your updates, so I'll be reaching back, my office will be reaching back out to you so that we can fine-tune those amendments, and I thank you for the amendments. And I have a question for Neil. Neil, for some who don't know what this is, I would like to know if you can explain what is the UL 1037 standard.
Sure. So I do agree, by the way, that the standard should be flexible, but there should be a minimum standard. That minimum standard should be Underwriters Laboratory 1037. You guys probably know about UL listing and how they test everything, specifically electronic products, but they also have a standard for key safes. And UL 1037 is the anti-theft, anti-break-in standard. They basically take a safe for 5 minutes, beat the heck out of it, try to break into it with whatever they can, axes, hammers, blowtorches, you name it, power saws. And if it meets that, it meets UL 1037. The number one concern we get from some school leaders nationwide is the concern that students may try to break in or vandalize the boxes. UL 1037 will make it that you cannot break into those boxes. It's much easier to break into a school than the boxes. So the UL 1037 is the minimum standard for key safes nationally, and should give everybody, like I said, better peace of mind that the boxes will be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from the committee? Thank you all. Senator McKnight, any comments on this bill before we move it?
I just want to, again, just say thank you, Mr. Chairman, for posting the bill. And the catalyst of this bill is just to be able to provide more protection for our students and for all the caregivers who support our students. So whatever we can do, we need to ensure that the safety of our students is our top priority. So I'm looking forward to working with all the stakeholders, making the bill even stronger so that we can protect our students. And with that, if no one else have any questions or comments, I will move the bill.
Motion by Senator McKnight, second by Senator Turner.
This is a vote on Senate Bill number 4440. Senator Henry? Yes. Is a yes. Senator Corrado? Yes. Is a yes. Senator Turner? Yes. Is a Senator McKnight?
Yes.
And Senator Gopal?
Yes, bill is released. Thank you. Next is S4476.
Thank you.
Senate Bill number 4476 permits awarding of contracts for certain preschool education services by resolution of Board of Education, extends maximum length of preschool education services contracts to 3 years.
Livy with New Jersey YMCA State Alliance, in favor, no need to testify. Harrison Silver, New Jersey School Boards, in favor, no need to testify. Colleen with the New Jersey Children's Foundation, in favor, no need to testify. Deb with the New Jersey Principals and Supervisors, in favor, no need to testify. Melanie Schultz, NJASA, in favor, no need to testify. Fran, NJEA, in favor, no need to testify. Amira Hussein, New Jersey Chamber of Commerce, in favor, no need to testify. Elizabeth Ginsburg, Garden State Coalition of Schools, in favor, no need to testify. KinderCare Learning Company, in favor, written testimony submitted, no need to testify. Early Care Education Consortium, in favor, no need to testify. Learning Care Group, in favor, no need to testify. Althea Ford with NJBIA, in favor, no need to testify. Looks like we have 3 individuals who'd like to testify. All are in favor. Megan with the New Jersey Association for Education of Young Children, if you want to come up. Karen with the Early Childhood Education Association, and Winifred with the Advocates for Children of New Jersey.
Good morning, Chairman Gopal and members of the Senate Education Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to offer testimony today and for your steadfast leadership in strengthening early childhood education across New Jersey. My name is Megan Tavermina, and I serve as the Director of Public Policy for the New Jersey Association for the Education of Young Children, or NJAEYC. Today, I am here to express NJAEYC's strong support for Senate Bill 4476, a thoughtful and strategic proposal that will help strengthen New Jersey's mixed delivery preschool system by allowing school districts to enter into 3-year contracts with licensed community child care providers and Head Start programs. This bill addresses one of the most persistent barriers to provider participation in preschool expansion, the instability created by 1-year contracts. These short-term agreements make it extraordinarily difficult for providers to plan for the future, retain staff, or make long-term operational investments. In many cases, providers have been turned away from securing business loans because their primary source of revenue, state preschool contracts, is not guaranteed from year to year. This is especially burdensome when private providers are also expected to finance facility upgrades to meet DOE requirements for participation. According to New Jersey's Strategic Plan for State-Supported Preschool Expansion, the instability of single-year program contracts makes it difficult for private providers to run their organizations. The report recommends that the state explore more mechanisms to better facilitate the extension of contracts for providers in good standing. The return on investment is clear. Community providers align their programming, curriculum, staffing, enrollment models, and physical space to meet public preschool standards, often at a considerable cost. With long-term contracts, these investments become sustainable and children benefit from consistent high-quality care in environments already known and trusted by families. Additionally, working parents retain access to critical wraparound services such as infant and toddler care, before and after school programs, and summer camp, services that are rarely offered in school-based settings. Mixed delivery is not simply a model of choice, it is a mechanism for access, equity, and continuity. According to the FY24 Mixed Delivery Report, of the 283 districts participating in preschool expansion, only 90 are currently partnering with community providers, despite robust and experienced provider network operating throughout the state. This disconnect underscores the need for structural reforms like those proposed in Senate Bill 4476. Its passage would help create the kind of predictability and shared responsibility we need to ensure that public dollars are strengthening, not destabilizing, New Jersey's existing early childhood landscape. Senate Bill 4476 offers a clear and practical solution by allowing 3-year contracts. It affirms that community providers are not simply vendors. They are an essential partner in delivering high-quality public preschool. We commend Senator Ruiz for the bill's co-sponsors